Tom Rakoff here. Today, let's talk about what I love the most, and that is systems design. And a question that you might get in an interview, and that is building a URL shortening service. This is a classic system design question that could be asked in an interview for a software engineer. Might not be leak code, might not be data structures and algorithms. You're going to get some questions regarding AI, obviously, and how you integrate AI into your workflows. But let's talk about systems design. So this is a classic question. This might be asked in an interview. Design a URL shortening service. So let's think about this for a second. So you have a URL shortening service like Bitly. So there's steps that you have to take in building this. The one thing you have to understand is that you're going to have reads to the database and you're going to have writes to the database. And there's going to be a ratio. With a URL shortening system or a URL shortening service, you're probably going to have more reads than writes. But you got to, at the end of the day, you have to understand your numbers. What's the ratio? I would probably say around 100 to 1 is the ratio, reads to writes. So for every 100 writes, every 100 reads, just reads, you're going to get one right. So the ratio is around 100 to 1, which is actually a lot. You're going to have more people just visiting these URLs, these short URLs, but people are going to actually create them as well. So that's one thing you need to keep in mind. But at the end of the day, you need to look at your numbers. So say, for example, you have bit.ly.com, after the .com you have a string after that .com. It's a string of letters and numbers, lowercase, uppercase, the numbers 0 through 9. So I already did some research on this. So if you have 26 letters in the alphabet, so you have uppercase, lowercase, that's 52 plus 0 through 9, which is what? 62 characters. You have a 62 character set. And say, for example, that string is 7 characters long. So what are you looking at? You're looking at 62 to the 7th power or 7. It's 7 to this. Yeah, it's going to be 62 to the 7th power because you have 62 different at your character set consists of 62 characters. So it's going to be 62 to the 7th power. So there's over a trillion different combinations, I believe. 60, yeah, it's a really big number. So you're not going to have to worry about like running out of like strings. Okay. Now what I would do is I'd have a pool. It's very, very simple. You have a pool. Here's what you have. After that, you're good. You know what I mean? You have a pool of whatever 30 trillion strings, and you just pick from that pool of strings, and then that's it. You're good to go. This is what we have. This is what we have available. If it's, you know what I mean? So you understand how that works. So the thing is, and now you have, okay, now you need to add some sort of caching layer as well, like Redis. You'd want to use something like Redis because you're not going to want to be hammering your database every single time. You might want to just go to your caching layer. So obviously you're going to implement Redis. So how do you do that? Another thing, what kind of database are you going to use? Is it going to be SQL or is it going to be no SQL? I did some research. Both work perfectly fine. You're not going to be doing a lot of table joins with this kind of application. So a relational database that's going to be okay. Or a non-relational database. Doesn't matter. Pick one. I'm just going to go with a relational database. So obviously understanding, okay, what kind of database do I want to use? Do I need to add some sort of caching layer? In most cases, you're going to have to add some sort of caching layer to your application because you don't want to be hammering your database. That wouldn't be efficient. So there you go. Then you essentially just pick out the tech stack. You're going to probably want to use JavaScript, HTML, CSS for your front end, your user interface, and then you have your back end that you're going to build out as well. I like Nest.js. I'm working on an e-commerce solution right now. I use Nest.js as my back end. to build out my back end system, and I love it. A lot of people don't like Nest.js. They think it's not too hard to learn. It's not a really hard framework to learn, if you will. It really isn't, but practice makes perfect. So, all right, I was kind of going off on a tangent. So you understand with this kind of application, you need to know, okay, this is a URL shortening service. You need to know the read-write ratio. That's extremely important because that is going to determine really what kind of database you use. So that's extremely important. And then you have that caching layer, and so you're not going to have to I don't think it'll be like, okay, I want you to build this from scratch and make sure, you know what I mean, where you have a fully functioning application in production. And if you don't, you're not going to pass the interview. Something like that. But you need to have a good idea of like you have to know what you're talking about. You have to have a really good idea of like what's going on. So there you go. It's a classic question. Or maybe they ask you, oh, build me a booking system, or what is those booking systems for the airlines, maybe something like that for booking a flight, a book flighting system, a flight booking system. Maybe you have to build something like that. You know what I mean? So there you go. Just a few things to think about. And the thing is, in 2026, yes, you need to understand how to implement AI into your workflows and integrate AI into your workflows because it's going to speed it up dramatically. You need to understand tokens, how that works. You need to understand RAG, which is retrieval augmented generation. You have to understand how RAG pipelines work. Extremely important. Understand a little machine learning knowledge can't hurt you. Machine learning extremely important. Obviously, AI, RAG, understanding how MCP servers work or how the MCP protocol works, extremely important. And of course, data structures and algorithms. But yeah, systems design is going to be extremely important. You got to have those senior level engineer. You got to have those skills. You need to have the skills of a senior level engineer if you want to work for a company and make really good money. Because the thing is, at the end of the day, you're fresh out of college, you have a degree, a bachelor's degree. Okay, that's cool, that's awesome. But once again, there's a lot of people with bachelors in computer science. So you're dealing with competition. You have to create a moat. You have to do things that the average software engineer is not doing. You have to create what they call a moat. If you ever built a startup, you understand about building a moat. You have to do stuff that the average software engineer is not doing. And it's really that simple. Whether that's getting a master's degree, getting a PhD in computer science, or just being like walking on water, essentially. So this is Tyron Ratcliffe. Hope you like my video. Make sure you visit the blog, tyronratcliffe.com. Tons of coding tutorials. And make sure you comment, like, and subscribe to this video. I'll talk to you later.